14-year-old Nora and her 7-year-old brother Miles were sitting in a fast food booth when their father pushed the menu across the table. He told them to order whatever they wanted, walked toward the restroom, and completely vanished through the glass doors. 10 minutes turned into an hour, then 3 hours. Their father hadn't gotten sick, and he hadn't been robbed in the parking lot. He had executed a quiet, perfect exit. A manager finally approached the table and found a note tucked underneath the younger brother's chocolate milk cup. The message was 4 words long: "Not my problem anymore." A child knows what fear is, but a child's brain has no defense mechanism for a protector who decides to simply erase his own family between one bite of a cheeseburger and the next. The ground vanishes beneath them. Grant's disappearance required a precise, calculated execution. When a police officer finally brought Nora and Miles back to their unlocked house, the reality of what he had done became obvious. Every safety net their late mother built was gutted. The emergency cash, the life insurance, and both college funds drained entirely. He even pawned their grandmother's wedding ring that exact same morning, right before buying them lunch. While Nora spent the rest of her teenage years rationing grocery money to keep her brother fed, Grant was already 3 states away. Days later, former coworkers spotted his social media posts, smiling on a beach with a new woman under the caption, "New Beginnings." 17 years pass. Grant reinvents himself as the development director for a charity helping displaced children. To cap off his redemption arc, he invites Nora and Miles to watch him receive a Man of the Year award at a fancy gala. He wanted a family photo and a short tribute speech. He needed the very victims he created to stand on stage, smile for the cameras, and act as living public relations props to legitimize his brand for his donors and his pregnant new wife. Grant made a fatal miscalculation about who he was inviting. The 14-year-old girl he abandoned had grown up to become a forensic records consultant, someone whose entire career is built on tracking hidden money and reconstructing missing files. She applied forensic logic to her past, stripping away emotional narratives for a strict chronological data trail. Screaming at the gala would let Grant play the victim. The data had to stand alone, unaffected by his spin. Nora and Miles accepted the invitation. They agreed to dress up and smile for the photos. In secret, Nora spent 3 weeks building a professional presentation that would spring an unassailable trap. She pulled certified copies of every physical artifact she could find. She gathered the old police reports, the bank withdrawal dates, the pawn shop slip, and his archived social media posts. When dismantling a carefully curated public lie, raw emotion works against you. Verifiable, chronological data is the absolute weapon. The fundraiser was packed. Grant stood at the podium, delivering a tear-jerking, practiced speech about how healing broken children had healed him. Then he smiled and introduced his daughter to give the family tribute. Nora walked to the stage, took the microphone from the stand, and told the audience she brought the records. Behind her, a projector screen lit up. The first slide was the fast food receipt. She pointed out the 2 children's meals and the complete absence of an adult meal. He never planned on staying to eat. Next, the official police incident report flashed onto the screen. It confirmed, in black and white, that 2 minors were left completely unattended and unaccounted for by their parent. Then she projected the pawn ticket for her mother's wedding ring. The date on the slip locked in the timeline of his financial theft, hours before the lunch. Grant panicked. He aggressively grabbed a microphone from the side of the stage and started talking over her, claiming it was a painful misunderstanding and that he had only left them with relatives for a few weeks to sort his life out. Nora clicked to the next slide. The screen showed his out-of-state apartment lease, signed and dated just 4 days later. The timeline crushed his lie in real time. Miles stood up from his table. Without raising his voice, he looked directly at Grant and corrected him in front of the silent room. "You didn't leave us with family. You left us with a cashier and a paper cup." True exposure doesn't require outshouting a manipulator. You simply corner them in public with an undeniable paper trail and watch the persona collapse. The implosion of Grant's life was immediate. Safe harbor families forced his resignation. The award disappeared from their website, and he was abandoned by his new wife before the end of the week. He left Nora a series of voicemails. None contained a genuine apology. He only complained that she had ruined his reputation. proving his primary concern was always himself. A few weeks later, Nora and Miles met up for lunch. Miles pulled his car into a McDonald's parking lot. They walked inside, ordered regular food, and sat by the window. Miles reached into his pocket and showed Nora his empty hand. For 17 years, he had carried the cheap plastic toy from that day. Now, his pockets were empty. True revenge requires zero cruelty. It is achieved entirely by refusing to participate in a manipulator's manufactured reality. Once you stop carrying the heavy burden of someone else's lies, the person who constructed them is finally forced to carry that weight entirely alone.